Hello, Revere, and welcome to the Revere Veterans and Community Show. Today we have another great show, but we also have a little sad show. Before we start, I'd like to introduce the future senator from the city of Revere, Steve Morabito.
Thank you, Morris. Thank you for having me.
Right, and I would like to spend a few seconds. We lost a great lady in the city of Revere. Her name is Sylvia Corin. She did so much, but I didn't know her as well as Steve Morabito, who's running for senator there. So, Steve, why don't you elaborate on her?
Well, I'm sure you knew
but not
Sylvia.
as well as you.
Well, I didn't know her I knew her. She was a great lady.
Yep.
How I first met her was on the beautification committee. I was trying to get involved and help out the city, and from an outside point of view, when you don't know how you can take part in a city in helping the city, you kind of don't know which route to go. So I actually went to, at the time, Representative Reinstein's office and told her I wanted to help out the city. Do you have any suggestions? And Rosalie Vincent, our rep now, suggested the beautification committee. So I volunteered on the beautification committee, and Sylvia Corin was so heartwarming to me, and she just took me by the hand and basically guided me through every step of the way, and she's just a magnificent woman. Any question I ever had about the city or the history of Revere, she always had an answer. She would never steer you in the wrong direction. She's loved by so many people, and it's sad that we lost a great lady and a great citizen of Revere.
Right. I knew her from the senior center, and she did so much for the seniors, for the women's club in the city of Revere right here. She did a tremendous amount for the veterans. And by the way, you do quite a bit for the seniors too for the city when you were on the council, which you still are. Tell us a little about your council.
You know, our seniors are our foundation, basically, and thank you for serving our country. One of the things I've done as a city councilor, as the chairman of Elder Affairs for 2 years, I opened up this subcommittee as a platform for the senior center and senior citizens to express their issues, concerns, or any events they wanted to share with the public. So that was a very useful tool to get their word out. So the Elders Affairs subcommittee was always given to the new rookie council. So I took that sub-council committee and I ran with it and I made something out of it.
Right.
And I shed light on it.
That's great, but you know, you always came down to our senior center when we had affairs like Mayor Rizzo would, or send representative, and you yourself would come down and do things for us. So invite us up to the council to have any questions.
You know, I think it's very important to visit with the senior citizens. Sometimes some of the senior citizens, they don't have families. They're all alone. They lost their loved ones. And I feel it's very important, not just on election year, but whenever you can get down there, even on non-election years, go down there. Just say hello. They like to see fresh faces every now and then, or they like to see youth and vigor. They just like the spontaneity, you know, of new people coming in there. You know?
Well, you have
and
yourself,
they like the new conversations. So.
Right, and you got Jessica Janino, who's a young lady,
yes.
And Patrick Keefe.
Yeah, and may I say, Ward 4 Councilor Keefe is doing a magnificent job, and our youngest vice president ever, President Jessica Janino, she's doing a remarkable job.
You mean of all the council presidents that the council has, she's been the youngest?
Yes, I believe so. I believe so.
God bless you, Jessica.
This was actually, I think this was the first time in a long time that all the whole council voted the vice president and council.
Who is the vice president?
I am the vice president.
Congratulations to that.
I think this is the first time in a long time they voted vice president and president on the same roll call.
Right.
Yeah.
Steve, I'd like to get off the track for a little while because I had the former mayor on here, and I asked him the same question, so I'm going to ask you. You know, we have a problem of drugs. I'm sure you knew Mickey Casoli, who always said no to drugs. And he was right, because drugs does lead to crime. It does lead to suicide. But I would like you to talk about it, because you're running for the Senate, and it might come up at the Senate. So
Absolutely, it has been. As I've been campaigning throughout the districts, a lot of the hot issues that come up, one is opiate addiction and the heroin overdoses, and Revere being the number 2 city in Massachusetts with heroin overdoses.
Who's number 1, if I may ask?
I think it's Everett. So,
Cheap is our neighbor?
Yeah. But I think we often try to arrest our way out of the problem. There are so many people who are incarcerated who have drug issues, and it's like a revolving door. We spend $9 million on the budget in incarceration, and majority of those are drug offenses. I think what we need to do is we have to make sure that when the addicts get out of when they're in recovery, it's very important that we have treatment for them, and that we have ready and accessible insurance, mental health for them, and make sure that they have coverage, because addiction is an issue. It takes over someone. It takes over. People basically lose their family member to addiction. They don't even know who the person is anymore. So it's very important that we get those people the right tools so they can move forward and not go back off the wagon.
I was going to ask
another thing is, with prescription drugs, we need to expand the training for doctors who are prescribing opiate painkillers, because most of the people who overdose on heroin, their first initial drug was a painkiller. So,
continue on that subject. We had your counselor who sits on the board with you, George Rotundo, who happens to be a nurse at Women's and Brigham's. He was up here last week talking about the drug problem and about having something, I believe it's called Narcan, where you can buy it in the store, and it'll sort of kind of help you get off the habit of drugs.
Revere was actually the first city who administered it. I think Councillor Rotundo actually put in that motion. I think he was the one who introduced that. We were the first city to administer it at Narcan.
Right, and you can buy it over the counter, so it's not something you need a prescription for.
Yeah. Another thing is education, Morris. It's very important that we educate students, not just in high school, but middle school, when they are more susceptible and introduced and have the opportunity to use drugs is presented to them. So right now, Revere, what we're doing is, I know the police chief, he has people going down, and the fire chief, they have people going to the school teaching our junior high schools about painkillers and opiate addiction and the harm that it does to you. Right, so prevention education is key, I think.
Right. People don't realize, if you smoke like the cigarettes that are even marijuana cigarettes, and you pass them around to your friends, but if you have a disease that you get on there with your DNA, someone else picks it up, he passes it around. He passes it around.
It is, Morris. That's why one of the first motion I created as a city councilor, which was a little controversial, because it wasn't, the businesses weren't really for the motion. I wanted to increase the age of tobacco sales, of tobacco purchases to 21, the age of 21 over the next 3 years. It died in committee, but the reason I did that is because it's a gateway drug. It's a gateway leading students or kids to try another alternative. And in terms of marijuana, a hot issue recently was the marijuana dispensary in Revere.
We do have a dispensary here?
Well, it came before the city council. We don't have it yet, no. We voted on the zoning location for it.
Can I ask you a question? Excuse me.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? Would it not be possible to let the people decide whether they wanted to put it on the ballot and give everybody, instead of the 11 councilors who make a decision when you have 50,000 people in the city of Revere and let the city of Revere vote for it and it gets it off your back?
You know, like, I am not, I believe medical marijuana, the effects, it's useful, but out of the 11 councilors, there were 2 of us that voted against the proposal, and that was Councilor McKenna and I. So the city council chambers were full, and I really find it difficult sometimes when you're a city councilor. You have to find a balance between the people who elect you and then what's best for the city, because you got to keep in mind, if you vote the wrong way, what if the city's liable? Basically, as a city councilor, you're the board of director for a multi-million-dollar company, the city being the company. And if there's a liability and there's a lawsuit, remember Moonlight Video?
Yep.
How much that millions of dollars we paid out. So you want to be very, very careful. I went with the people on that, but who knows what the outcome.
Wouldn't it be smart to let the doctors, the regular MDs, the regular hospitals administer the medical marijuana in the hospital, not to have places where you can buy it and I can buy it, and if someone wants it, I can resell it to him at a higher price than when I paid for it?
Well,
what is to keep me from doing that? Nothing.
Correct, and I think that's another alternative. A lot of people feel maybe it should be kept in in CVS or be distributed by a pharmacy. Others are fine with having it here, but majority of the people, not just the citizens of Revere, were against the location of the dispensary. A lot of business owners were as well. They think it creates a negative image for our city. Not that people feel the medical use of marijuana is not helpful. They don't want the business in Revere. And I think you have to go with the people on an issue like that.
Right. When we started the show, you mentioned that Revere.
And another thing, Morris,
Shoot.
What a lot of people are concerned of is, what if there's a ballot question on proposing recreational use of marijuana in Massachusetts? Will they turn that facility into a facility that distributes cookies with THC and marijuana ingredients?
Excuse me.
So
there's going to be 4 outlets, from what I understand, in the Commonwealth of 4 distributors, correct? They're going to be located in 4 different towns. Why not let those towns, where they want to put it, make a decision whether they want it or
But
not?
another thing, Morris, is keep in mind, Revere is not only going to distribute it, they also want to grow it here. So a lot of companies they're distributing but not growing, or they're either doing one or the other. We're doing both. So.
And you told me at the beginning of the show that we're number 2 in the Commonwealth with the drug problem.
Well, with heroin overdoses.
Right,
yes.
but what's the difference? If they can't get on heroin, they'll use that. I mean, one way or the other, if they're addicted to it. So the thing to do is to have, like you suggested, a program to get people that off. And I'm sure the police get involved, but let's say if a person...
And our police do a fine job.
They do an excellent job.
I went to a meeting with North Suffolk Health Care. MGH was there, some doctors from MGH, Mayor Arrigo, Jessica Janina was there, a bunch of stakeholders in this fight against the opiate addiction. And our Chief Doherty, our fire chief, was telling us how they actually check on people if someone has say close experience or they resuscitate someone from having an overdose. They'll check on them 2 to 3 weeks later.
They just don't leave them alone.
Yeah, they try not to scare that. They try not to have their police presence. Like they'll come in on with regular clothes with just their police polo shirt, just so that, because a lot of the addicts see a police in uniform and they're nervous, or they get scared. They think they're there to arrest them, and so they go in regular out of uniform, and they check on they check with the family members. They distribute literature. They let them know there's help if you need it. So there's a lot that we have been doing and taking the initiative, but there's always more you can do.
Right.
There's always more.
Now, you went up there, I'd like to get out this, excuse me, subject for a minute.
Yeah, absolutely.
You went up there with, I believe, with Rosalie Vincent and yourself. And by the way, I got to say, she's a terrific lady. Does a terrific job for the community. About the MBTA fare increase, is that going to actually go through, or is that still, still talking about it, the MBTA fare increase? Because a lot of the seniors who are on a fixed income, even if it may only be 5%, it's going to hurt a lot of people.
See, now, the MBTA fare, it did increase. But,
it did increase?
But, yes, but that's not what I went to the State House for.
Oh.
I do believe that we should be encouraging riding public transportation. It's better for the environment, less fumes and carbon in the air. So I think we should be encouraging that, and if anything, we should be giving our seniors a break. One of the things that Representative Vincent submitted for a bill was to discount the tolls for Revere residents. Councilor McKenna and I put in a motion not knowing that Rep. Vincent already had submitted the bill. So she was ahead of the game. And we've been trying to pass this for over 30 years, she said. For some reason, it just doesn't pass for whatever reason. So Councilor McKenna and I spoke before the Subcommittee of Transportation in at the State House, and we gave our testimony that we wanted our residents to get a discount. You know, the impact we have on a daily basis, the hundreds of thousands of vehicles that come through our city, not only pollute our city, it impacts our residents' insurance rates because it increases the likelihood of accidents.
Right.
Not only that, what happens when there's an accident, Morris? The police have to come, the ambulance have to come, our fire apparatus.
Right.
So it's wasteful to our dollars as well. So we're using resources to respond to these accidents. So we did go to the State House and we gave our testimony in favor of Rosalie's bill. So what the bill would do, it would discount the Sumner Tunnel toll and Tobin Bridge for Revere residents. I think it would match whatever Charlestown is, 45 cents to 35 cents.
I have
don't
no
quote
idea.
me on that.
I don't use that anymore. I use this public transport.
And for seniors 70 years of age and older would be free of charge if this passes.
That would be good.
Yes. So yeah, I think why shouldn't we get a discount?
Right. I get a question for you now that you are running for state senator. What improvements would you make as a state senator? And the second question is, you could go from one right into the other. Talk about the MS-13. I'm sure you're familiar with them.
Well, you know, yeah, in East Boston, there's been a lot of issues with crime, and the MS-13 gang is.
Is that what they're located at?
I don't know. I'm not affiliated with them in any sense.
I hope not.
But let me just, before I go to that, let me just tell you a little bit. Let me tell that most people in Revere know me, but let me give you a brief history. Currently, I work for Century 21 North Shore. I'm a realtor. I'm also the vice president of the city council, as you know. I have a long history of working in the retail industry. I was a manager for Johnny's Food Master Supermarkets for 18 years. In that industry, I had the opportunity to meet thousands of people, literally thousands of people. And on a daily basis, I got to help people. And I enjoyed it. And isn't helping people the very essence of public service?
That's what we elect you for.
This is why I pursued going for city council. A lot of people come to you as a city councilor and they look for guidance and assistance on many issues. Some are minor issues and can be simply resolved by putting up a stop sign. Others are more complex and require an ordinance change to be resolved. But not all issues brought to our attention can be solved at a local level. This desired in me a need to want to help more at a higher capacity. So
that would be good. Now, Steve, I got a good question for you. I happened to go to the VA hospital, and then I left there and I went to stores. I was speaking to people, and people didn't understand me speaking because they didn't speak perfect English, but they were working there. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't it be good to have people that work in the VA or anything in government to be able to speak perfect English or fairly good English before they speak their second language instead of the reverse?
Well,
like when I went in there, they were talking Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
When I asked them a question, they had to call an interpreter mm-hmm. to understand what I was talking about. I thought my English was fairly good. Even though I come from Brooklyn, I don't have that crazy accent that they talk there. I thought my English was fairly good, but they didn't understand me, so they called someone over and said, in Spanish, I guess, ask him what he's saying.
You know, I think assimilation is important with with people who are migrating here from different countries.
Right.
It's very important to have that communication level, whether it's having people at City Hall, having literature that people can understand if majority of the population are Spanish or
Arabic,
Italian, Arabic.
Right.
I think communication is the key for a city to prosper, and not because if people of the city do not understand, or the district, if they don't understand, there's that communication gap, no one's going to move forward. So I think it goes the same way. The same applies to what you're saying. If you go to a VA, you would expect that someone would speak English, but because English is the first language in our country, but at the same time, there should be someone on hand. Usually, you run into
They do have terrific
yeah,
people.
because usually you fall into the issue of someone coming into the office not speaking English, and I think it's very important to have that break that language barrier and have some kind of literature or some kind of communicator.
I think a second language is terrific.
Mm.
I mean, I really do. And I don't. So when people come over here, they should be able to speak English, American English, even if it's broken English, so we can communicate in English. Now, if you want to speak Spanish with your brother or sister, there's no problem with that. I mean, we love second languages, and it's good to have a second. Some people that I know speak 2, 3, or 4 languages.
You know, we're all immigrants in some sense. My mom was born in Italy. She came here when
My father was born in Germany, my mother in Russia, so I'm a first generation.
Yeah, my mom actually, she came here with her sister and lived in America with her grandparents. They worked in a factory, and every penny they earned, they gave to their grandparents. You know why? So they could save for my grandfather, my grandmother, my uncle to come to this country. And then my father didn't even have a high school education. He got by. He's a barber, and they made it. They raised 4 children, and they provided us with everything they didn't have. They provided me with the tools I needed to get a degree in business management from Salem State College, to have the respect for the seniors and the elderly, and to treat everyone the way I'd like to be treated. And that's why in this campaign, I've always run a clean, positive campaign, and I will continue to do that. Some tactics that have been used and written in the journal in the recent weeks were disgusting. The things that were said and written about me was pure character assassination. And
could you expand on that article that you talked about?
There was a letter saying I supported some bill, and it was nonsense. I'm just for the viewers who are watching, if you ever have a question about my stance on something or what I believe in, my phone number is 781 420-6975. That's my cell number. Please call me if you have any questions. Don't jump to conclusions because it's not fair. I'm here to represent the people, and I will give you answers whenever you ask. So that's what you can guarantee with me. What you see is what you get.
Right, Steve. We got about 2.5 minutes, so I want to be fair. Take a minute and a half to leave me 1 minute. Say whatever you wish.
You know, I just want to say a lot of people are asking me, why are you running for state senate? We like you as city council. And I love being the city council for the city. And I'm honored that the people of the city elected me for a second time. There was an open seat in Senate. Usually there's career politicians who are always running. It was an open seat. At the time, there was no one from Revere running. I feel I can better represent the people of Revere at the state Senate level, especially with all the cuts that have been happening with our city. The school budget got a $4 million cut. I think it's very crucial that we vote someone, a candidate from Revere on April 12th, because we want that representation in Revere. And you know someone from Revere is going to fight tooth and nail for our city. Not saying that I'm not going to work as hard for the other cities in the district. I'll fight just as hard.
I'm sure you will.
But it would be very nice to have someone from Revere. So I ask you for your vote on April 12th.
Right.
Yeah, I would greatly appreciate it.
Right, Steve. So I want to say God
And
bless
Morris,
you.
it's always a pleasure.
Good luck
It's
to
always
you
a
on
pleasure.
your run for the Senate.
And
God bless you. Take care of you.
And if we can end the show in a moment of silence for
Sylvia.
Sylvia, and our prayers and thoughts go out to Ty and Harvey, her family members.
Right.
She's well loved, and she's going to be missed.
Right.
So
And I just want to say, God bless Sylvia. May your soul rest in peace. God bless our troops, our people of Revere, but most of all, our great country, the United States of America. And thank you all for listening. And thank you, Steve, again for coming on to the Revere Veterans and Community. And wish you good luck.